Today we're going to look at a game between Magnus Carlsen and Gregory Opperin. This is a mad game. Magnus plays brilliant moves in this game and it's mad. If you guys like it, drop a like and let's go! H4. Magnus Carlsen, you cheeky piece of work. Funny how these openings are regarded as like a meme opening or like a disrespectful opening. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Because the standard approach to chess is obviously you develop in the center. But when people play stuff like this, everyone's like, ooh. Like honestly, it puts people out of theory on move one and people are like, I don't really know what to play. Gregory plays g6. I mean, apparently that's a missed win already. White's winning. Look at that. Magnus takes the center, which is what the engine wants. Which is what we all want, Magnus. Gregory then and kettles, bruv. Bring his bishop to b7. Magnus develops his knight to c3. You know, just protecting the center. Now this pawn's safe, and maybe he can advance further into the center. Gregory plays e6, which is a nice move. Just preparing d5 in the future. Magnus plays d4 to grab as much center as he can. Now the center's looking good for white, and he's got this pawn just dinking over there. Gregory plays knight b4, pinning the knight, stopping it from moving. Now this pawn is under attack. Magnus kind of has to protect it or give up the pawn. If Magnus played a careless move, then this pawn is fallen. But it's Magnus Carlsen. He's not going to play anything stupid. Relax. He just defends the pawn with bishop d3. Nice move, Magnus. Gregory doesn't give two craps about his position or that pawn. He just plays knight f6. Just going after this pawn again. I mean, you might as well, right? Now it's being attacked twice once more, so he has to defend it again. That move is an inaccuracy because now Magnus can push the pawn. And he can't take this, because if he does, then rook h2 just attacks two pieces at the same time. So he can't take this pawn, and the knight kind of has to move somewhere. Where's the knight going to go? It can go here, maybe put some more pressure on this. It could go back, or it could go to e4, which is where it goes. Engine doesn't like that. Engine like this idea, going after this. And what would you do in this situation, guys? Would you take that knight? Would you do something else? I mean, the best move, and what Magnus plays, is to take the knight. I mean, you're not going to not take the knight because this is being attacked twice. You don't want to play a move like this because then this sort of thing is happening and then you can take this pawn. And if the rook goes there, you can just drop back. And then it's kind of better for black. So Magnus does take the knight, and then bishop recaptures. And now a key move from Magnus, which is a nice developing move for the queen, and it makes perfect sense. Queen g4. That's a nice move because it attacks this, attacks this. Now this is free to leave, so this is under attack. In this position, engine just wants d5, and if he en croissants, then you just take this pawn down here. Ooh. Gregory now has a choice. Does he want to play d5? Does he want to push his bishop back? What does he want to do? He wants to take that pawn down there. What an interesting grab of a pawn, because this threat surely is something, right? On his king side as well. Like, this pawn is just going to fall. Magnus takes the pawn, and now the rook's kind of in danger. The king's not looking so safe, and this bishop grabbed a pawn, but at what cost? Gregory just goes rook f8 and just acts like that was completely fine. I mean, I guess you could argue that this pawn is protected by this bishop, so this can't be grabbed as well. But look at the king side. The knight's dead, the rook's dead, the knight's not developed, the queen literally has two squares, the rook's dead now, this bishop's doing nothing apart from x-raying the king. This is kind of out of the game. h4 proving to be quite the opening. Maybe because Magnus is just the best, but it doesn't matter. Because now Magnus plays bishop g5. And look at this threat. This is mental. What the hell is happening? You can't push the pawn, because then you just take with the pawn. And then the queen can't defend it in any way. If you do something like that, you just go check. And then you have to bring your bishop back. And then look at this position. What is happening? But that doesn't happen. Gregory brings his bishop back first to avoid all of that stuff. And then Magnus takes the bit. No, he doesn't. He goes rook c1. That's a lovely in-between move. And that's the best move as well. Imagine spotting that. Any like 600 rated player is just like, okay, take. All right, let's continue playing. Not Maggie G's. Maggie G's goes rook c1, and that is a lovely move. Because now this is a bit awkward. He takes on g5. He takes on g5, attacking the rook. And if you took back here, if he does take there, then the bishop just retreats. And then the queen's kind of in like a bit of a hoop scoop. So he recaptures the bishop on c2 first. Now this is under threat, but it's also attacking this pawn. And he's also got to be careful of other things in the position. Maybe this knight's jumping in at one point. So best move, Gregory plays bishop e7. Just a retreating move. He doesn't want to take this pawn, because if he did take this pawn, then knight f3 is coming out. And then this kind of has to go back, and then this pawn's going to fall. And then there's just so much of an attack. This is going to start coming in. So he sees those ideas and goes back. Magnus then just recaptures the pawn on this side of the board, giving his queen some breathing room. Engine just wanted f3 again. Like, the engine really likes the f3 knight. Gregory thinks, all right, look at my position. What the hell is going on? Like, all of my pieces are on the back rank except my bishop. None of my pawns have really moved. Let's develop a piece. So he brings his knight out. Magnus brings his knight out as well, developing the piece and protecting this pawn. Maybe there was an attack. Black's like, finally, my queen can breathe. And he goes c8. Just getting his queen in a slightly better position. Engine wants to give breathing room another way by d5. And if he en croissants, just take back with the queen, and then you're kind of attacking this one again twice. But he moves his queen there. And then halfway through the game, Magnus decides to castle. Let's just get some safety, shall we? Queen jumps on the diagonal. Maybe there's a chance of castling and bringing this rook here. D5 from Magnus. Instantly challenging this pawn. If he takes, then this is coming in. And if this knight moves, oh yikers. Maybe even this stuff. Gregory goes knight b4, attacking this rook, attacking this pawn. And in this position, Magnus smacks out a crazy move. It's a brilliant move. The rook is hanging, right? But what else is happening on the board? This is why he's so strong. Like, pawn takes e6 is crazy in this position. That is bonkers. The reason this is a brilliant move is for a few reasons. Number one, the rook's hanging. So if he takes, which he does, now Magnus takes the pawn on d7. And the king is looking... the king is looking so dead. If the king doesn't take, then you just recapture this. And then... look, what is the king doing there? And if the king does take, then this is still happening. And then the king is like forced into awkward squares. Then you just recapture the knight, and this position is so much better for white. The king is completely weak. The rook's dead in the corner. This rook's doing nothing. This bishop's aiming at nothing apart from this pawn. And white has a good attack. What would you do in black's position here to gain any sort of authority in this game? Like, you're completely losing, and you have no active pieces. Any move but queen c6. That is not helping the situation at all, because now it's just encouraging the knight to jump in. There's all sorts of checks looming. Magnus plays rook d1, check. King is forced back. If the king starts coming up here, you're getting forked. Both of these moves are acceptable, but Gregory chooses c8. Now all the momentum is with Magnus. Knight d4, attacking the queen. It's even material, so theoretically, if the material was off the board, black may have a chance to win this game. So Gregory finds the best square for the queen, which is g6. Offering a queen trade. Because of Magnus's position right now, he does not want a queen trade, and he plays knight f5, which is a lovely move. Like, look at that. No in-between move, threatening a fork of the king and the queen, and also stopping the queen trade. Gregory in this position can actually just take this pawn, because it can't take back, because then you lose your queen. But he decides to drop back to d8, which is a questionable move, because now Magnus has a forced mate in 17. Forced mate in 17 would be a ridiculous find. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. You have to literally sack a queen in exchange for this stuff. This is cronkers. Imagine this happening. This is a top engine line, force mate in 17. Imagine that happening. But none of that happens. Maybe in a classical game, something like that might happen. But in this game, that doesn't happen. This is a blitz game, 3 minutes on either side. Magnus plays queen e4, going after the rook. Now the rook is kind of forced to move, or the king has to come over. So the rook comes over. Now knight b5 is time. King can't protect any of this stuff. Knight b5, threatening mate. If the king didn't do anything, if he did something like that, it's literally mate. Black's only move is kind of just bringing the rook up to protect against the mate. And now Magnus plays a move that just is... I mean, when you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, of course, right? Of course, look at that move, obviously. But in a 3-minute game, I don't think you're really seeing this move. Or maybe you are if you're like 2500. All right, bloody hell. I'm not seeing this move with 11 seconds left on the clock. Knight d6. And then black just resigns. Knight d6. Look at that. That's crazy. Because if he takes, then he checks. King's got a few moves, but both of these ones end up in a mate. And if the king goes here, then you just take this and it's a forced mate in 5. King's only move. Check. King's got 2 moves. If he goes here, check. King's only move. Mate. If he goes here, discovered check. If the king takes, it's mate. If the king goes here, it's mate. Checkmate in the corner, which is super nice. So after this brilliant move, black just resigns. There's kind of nothing you can do in this position. Like, whatever you do. The best move is actually to sack your queen. And then you just take back. And then if he takes, then you just play moves like this. And then the king's forced over here. Take the pawn. Look at this position. It's just dominating, isn't it? That is a nice, brilliant move. That is such a nice, brilliant move. Looking at the accuracy for this game, Magnus played 86.5% with 2 brilliant moves using the h4 opening. Like, that is just crazy, isn't it? Like, it just proves that openings don't matter whatever level you are. Unless you're playing like a classical game, like in a blitz game, if you're Magnus Carlsen, you can literally play anything you want and just destroy. And that's the video, guys. All right, guys, have a good day. Drop a like. See you later. Bye.